And these are the fields that were recently awarded to a number of foreign oil companies for development projects. China, 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 China. Exxon, sorry. But it's not going to be easy. Iraq's supposed to produce 12 million barrels a day in 7 or 8 years' time, according to these companies, but they don't believe it, the ministry doesn't believe it, and I don't believe it. Why? Security issues. The south is relatively stable. Basra is a lot quieter than it used to be, but a lot of the export goes through bandit country. Oil unions, outlawed still under Saddam Hussein laws, which are still in place. They have a powerful presence in the south. Infrastructure. Virtually nothing exists. There are no supply chains, there are no camps, there's no ways of getting equipment in very quickly. Drilling. These fields are not like Gawa in Saudi Arabia. These fields require a lot of wells, hundreds and hundreds of wells. Drilling crews have to be supported, they have to be supported by camps, they have to be supported by supply chains of all kinds of equipment. This cannot happen overnight. Export capacity currently is insufficient for a major expansion. Water. Water is needed for injection. You need to inject roughly 1.2 barrels of water for every barrel of oil you take out. Everyone thought this was going to come from the Euphrates and the Tigris. But the Euphrates and the Tigris have been at historically low levels for quite a while because the Turks have put dams up. So this water gas is going to come from the Persian Gulf, which is a 6-7 million barrels a day water supply project, a major thing all on its own, costing maybe $10 billion, non-trivial. This just illustrates the drilling requirements. I mean, if you look at all the fields and the projects that have been outlined, if we went to the 12 million barrel case, we need 350 drilling rigs to be operational in 4 or 5 years' time. It's just not going to happen like that. But even will become a 10 million barrels a day plateau. That is more than Saudi Arabia's current production. It's more than Russia's current production. And how will this unfold? Our view is it'll take a while to catch up, and there'll be 3 phases. Iraq will first catch up with Iran's OPEC quota. We think Iraq will stay in OPEC. It's in its interest to do so. It'll then have a period of parity with Iran, and then Iran will simply not be able to keep up. And Iraq will then become the swing producer, displacing Saudi Arabia. Sometime around 2017, Iraq will be the key oil player in the world. So it better be stable. So let's have a look at Iraq. This was created by the British. In fact, it was created by one woman, Gertrude Bell, who was a British political officer based in Baghdad. She designed the borders, she decided who was going to rule it, and she decided the process. You might think that's an imperialist adventure. It probably is. But her view was that the Britain should not control Iraq, but should hand over to an Arab ruler. And she fought the British administration in the UK a long time for that, finally succeeding. Well, the person that was made king was King Faisal I. Now, where did he come from? Because Iraq didn't have a monarchy. Well, King Faisal I was the son of the king of the Hejaz, which is the western part of Saudi Arabia. And you have to remember, Saudi Arabia didn't exist at this time. And in fact, without Ibn Saud, who created Saudi Arabia in the 20s, Saudi Arabia would be 3 countries. It would be west along the Red Sea with Mecca and Medina, a sort of pilgrimage place, tourist place. A central part, which is all desert, full of fanatics. And an eastern part, which would be a bit like Dubai, but only Shia, because the Shia lived there. But that didn't happen. And King Faisal was at this time, a king without land. So the British said, oh, you can be king of Iraq, why not? Didn't ask the Iraqis, but anyway. Iraq didn't exist, did it? So, out of this mess, Iraq was constructed from 3 Ottoman provinces. Mosul in the north, which had a lot of Kurds in it, Baghdad in the middle, and Basra in the south, which is all Shia. At the time, the Basra Vilayet also included Kuwait. The Ottoman Empire had Kuwait as part of its fiefdom. And the British decided, well, Kuwait should be on its own. So in 1922, Kuwait was created out of the Basra Vilayet of the Ottomans. So all this history, going right back to 980, when Hussein died, and the Shia shrine cities were created, and the Iranians arrived with their clergy and converted the Arab tribes, created what you see here, Shia South and Kurdish mountains in the northeast. And there are a number of other minorities as well. There are Syrian Christians still. I mean, when Gertrude Bell was there were many more Syrian Christians than there are now. And in fact, before 2003, there were 1 million of them. Now there are only 500,000 because they've left. Conflict. There are still lots of conflicts going on in Iraq. And there are simmering conflicts of much more serious nature. I put up here just a bar chart showing something I've been tracking for some time, 7 years actually. These are fatalities from what they call improvised explosive devices on vehicles, on coalition forces, predominantly US and British. 90% of the casualties are due to Sunni Arab insurgency, and about 10% to Shia insurgency, mostly in a period in 2007. The idea that if you read your newspapers that all these people, all these soldiers were killed by Iranians is nonsense. They were killed by Sunni Arab insurgents, predominantly Iraqis and predominantly Saudis. There was a count taken in 2005 of suicide bombings, and of 250 attempted and successful suicide bombings, 380 were from Saudi Arabia. So, yes, Iran has meddled, but not to the extent they're led to believe. This is the political conundrum that the recent election, which was only a month old, and has left us with. It's a bit of a complicated diagram. On the bottom, you have some bar charts. These are the three main regions of Iraq, just for convenience: Kurdistan in the north, the Sunni north of Baghdad, and the Shia south. As you can see, people voted along sectarian lines. In the south, they voted for the Shia parties. In the north, Kurds voted for the Kurds. And in Baghdad, they voted in the mixed, because they are mixed. Saudi Arabia put a lot of effort into one particular group. Why? Because they wanted the Sunnis to have big representation. So all the Sunnis voted for Mr. Ayad Alawi and what I would call the Neo-Baathists, because most of the people in the Saddam Hussein period. This group won the election. They got 2 more seats than everybody else. The Shia nationalists, under the present Prime Minister, came second. Shia sectarian came third. Iran backed the Shia sectarian group. This has left a conundrum because these people are incompatible. The Kurds don't want to work with the Baathists, the Shia don't want to work with the Baathists, and the Sunnis have to be included. So this is a mess. And in some ways, it's been created by interference from outside, Iran and Saudi Arabia. So Iraq is work in progress. A lot of things can happen to go wrong. It seems to go right most of the time, but there are things that can happen. I don't think the insurgency from the Sunni side is going to come back. Why? Because they were all bought, rented, if you like, and put in what they call the Saqwa, which is the awakening councils. And when they did that, the Americans very cleverly tagged everybody. Retina scans, fingerprints, biometric data, everything. So if any of these guys step out of line again, they know exactly who it is.